You're listening to Comic Relief, the Entertainment Buddha comic book podcast that is already worrying about like 3 or 4 podcasts down the road. My name is Justin. Joining me, as always, the other 2 Jamokes are the incredible Herc and Andoni.
How's it going, guys? Nice to be back with you again.
And the still superlative-less Nick. Maybe that'll be it, superlative-less.
That's like Hindsight Lad. Or
Yeah, I mean-
what was the other one?
Due diligence, man.
Due
Diligence Man, yeah. So thanks.
I like that one better.
Due Diligence Man would be I'd watch that show.
Yeah.
Maybe like
It's funny.
Maybe like 1 episode, but I'd watch it.
I don't know. I mean, Due Diligence Man versus Hindsight Lad, that would be interesting. It's like the retrospective versus prospective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which wins? It's like Civil War.
They'd be arch enemies.
Oh, God.
Would
It's like, oh, you invited that guy?
Would Due Diligence Man be like, all right, before we battle, you have to sign these? And Hindsight Lad would be like, blast, he beat me. I should not have signed those.
Yes.
Probably.
I
should have read it.
I think that's how it would go down. In hindsight, I should have read that.
Yes.
In hindsight. Well, speaking of Civil War, one of the handful of topics we will be discussing this fortnight will be Marvel Civil War, good or bad. We'll also be discussing the future plans for Marvel because, you know, they've already got their crap rolling out that they're going to do after Civil War. And then there's tons of stuff from San Diego Comic-Con. There's a lot of trailers, a lot of news from both DC and Marvel, a lot of things to talk about. We'll give you our opinions. So read on, listen on. That's the medium we're working on. FYI, this is probably going to contain spoilers, so you've been warned. There may be spoilers for things that we're going to talk about. Exercise caution.
Extreme caution.
Yeah, I wouldn't say extreme. Mild caution.
All right, mild caution.
Yeah. I mean, Due Diligence Man would say tread lightly.
Plan accordingly.
Plan accordingly, that's it. Well done.
Don't listen to this, and then in hindsight, realize you should not have listened to it.
Boom.
Yeah, hindsight loud would be, oh, God, there's a spoiler. I shouldn't have listened to that. But speaking of spoilers, I know Nick doesn't care.
Nope.
And I'm even on the fence as to whether I care or not. Civil War 3, which is actually the 4th book, or I guess the 5th book, because we had the free comic book day special, which you should have read. I didn't know that.
Issue 0.
Yeah. So the big to-do from Civil War 3, if you didn't read Entertainment Weekly or any comic book rumor sites, is that they killed Bruce Banner. Nick, earmuffs. So, damn, I should have said that before I said it.
In hindsight, you should have said that.
I know. So they killed Bruce Banner because the Inhuman Hercules, or not Hercules, I'm getting everything mixed up. The Inhuman Ulysses.
It's all Greek. It's all Greek to me.
It's all. Oh God! Now I'm way off base.
Ulysses.
Anyway,
this train is derailed already.
3 minutes and 30 seconds. Ulysses, the Inhuman, had a premonition, quote, we don't know yet, that the Hulk was going to kill everybody, and so we learn in a flashback that Bruce Banner had given Hawkeye some sort of gamma type arrow that in case he ever hulked out again, that he can shoot him. He gave him the the go ahead. He did his due diligence, and then Hawkeye did that.
Hawkeye would be the one.
So Bruce Banner's dead. I know. It's like they keep shitting on Hawkeye. Like, let him alone.
And this is
That's
now
Bendis' go-to.
Just a little bit of a recap. Also, is that this is now issue 3 with Bruce Banner coming off the cuff of War Machine, Rhodey being killed, and also She-Hulk being in, I believe, a coma or at least what is it, paralyzed? I forget. She-Hulk basically is in critical condition. She's bedridden as a result. In just 3 issues, a lot has happened in the course of 4 issues. I keep forgetting about 0, but since this thing has started, Rhodes is dead, battling Thanos, and now in issue 3, boom, we have Hawkeye taking out Banner. And the controversy,
who is being represented by Daredevil in a court of law.
Exactly, but it's all, and the controversy in this seems to be that, he didn't actually Hulk out yet. He was still in Dr. Banner form at his home, minding his own business, and that's where we see the rift start to get between the two different sides in this.
Right, so Bruce Banner previously had transferred all of his gamma radiation to Amadeus Cho, who is now the totally awesome Hulk. And Bruce Banner has been able to, as he says, keep the Hulk under control because of some weird gamma drug that he's been taking, and so everything's okay. It's just that Captain Marvel keeps, poking the bear and pissing him off, and then he gets mad. Well, I mean, who wouldn't? And then Hawkeye says that because of his keen senses, he thought he saw some green flash in Bruce Banner's eyes, which led him to shoot the arrow.
Did you notice green arrows, shadows in his eyes when you were reading it?
I don't know.
Did you go back to look?
I did.
No, I didn't.
I did just because I was curious, because now if we're following the story, it's a matter of, is this murder? They've killed a man, but Carol Danvers and her side is that, well, if we are able to prevent people from dying unnecessarily, in the future, let us try and stop that. But at what cost? And it seemed pretty harsh.
Right. And then the other big thing from the end of issue 3 is that apparently Tony Stark, through his AI Friday, has finally figured out how Ulysses' how his powers work. So that was the cliffhanger. Is that apparently now Tony Stark, the Iron Man, is going to figure it out. Which will probably be bad for him.
Can you say that again? Ulysses.
What's the plural? What's the possessive of Ulysses?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's not the plural. I don't know. It's all Greek to me, right?
Yep.
I mean, the big stink was that they released this book on at midnight, and the funny anecdote that a local Pittsburgh comic store tweeted was that they had more people at the shop looking for Pokemon than they did for Civil War 3.
Ouch.
Well, that just means it wasn't spoiled as quickly for you.
No, Marvel spoiled it at 9 p.m. 3 hours before they actually released it. I mean, even though it was floating around on rumor sites, which, it is what it is.
It's the world we live in.
I know. It sucks. I want to be surprised. But it is what it is. To be fair, I read it because they kind of spoiled it in... I forget what. There's a book coming out in like 2 months that on the cover, Hawkeye's face has a big X through it, and Bruce Banner's face has a big X through it, and then it's a bunch of other ones that are just hanging on a wall or something. So people already speculated that the Hulk was going to die from Hawkeye's arrows, which, no surprise, it did. Anyway. So, Andoni, my question is, how do you feel about first however many issues of Civil War? We've got, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 4 more to go. And they've already announced that there's some delays, so Marvel events are not without that.
Delays with issue number 4?
I can't remember. I don't think it's 4. I think 4's out this week. It's like 5 or 6 has already started to slip.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you think that's because of all these other spin-off titles and tie-ins, or does that not play a role? I mean, whatever the reason is, so far, from what I've read, it's interesting because they are giving you, like, this big event happening in each issue. Dr. Banner having an arrow fly through his head is, definitely going to get you to want to pick up the book. Is it necessary to start, killing off? I mean, is this what it has come to? Let us kill big names because we know that that's going to get and leak it prior, like you were just saying, so that people go out there and run and buy it. I mean, it was entertaining. I'm not going to sit here online and say I didn't enjoy it. I So we'll see what happens. I've read better stuff, but it's holding my interest.
I've checked the sources. It's confirmed number 5 is pushed back 2 weeks. And then there's a couple Amazing Spider-Man number 3 and Captain Marvel number 8 are also pushed back.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the difficult with this is I feel like a lot of other events hit the ground running a lot faster than this. I feel like we're however many issues in, and I don't feel like it's kind of ramped up yet. I don't feel like the stakes have been. I mean, we know what is at stake, but I don't know. I just don't feel invested. I mean, to give Brian Michael Bendis credit, throughout the series so far, he's sort of been giving you nuggets to want to go on with each issue, such as, next time we get to find out how Tony Stark figured out how his powers works and what he's going to do with it. But I mean, as a whole, it just, I don't know. I feel like they're trying to do big things, but it doesn't feel like it's warranted. It doesn't feel earned. But
no, I feel you on that, and I think you're spot on.
So it's not a Marvel event without delays and blah blah blah. But Marvel's also announced their next event, because why wouldn't they? Shortly after they announced their I don't even know if it's the full slate. The majority of the books from Marvel now, and then the next event's going to be Inhumans versus X-Men.
That's the big battle series or whatever that they're gonna do.
Well, yeah. I mean, we think it's the big battle.
Oh, is that? All right. Now, that article you sent me the other day about them possibly, what was it? Not killing off the X-Men, or not creating new mutants.
Yeah, that's what they're basically doing.
Okay. So Marvel can claim rights to Inhumans, but not mutants, because Fox has rights to mutants for the movies.
That's a big
deal. All right. So if my understanding is right, based on the article that you sent, Marvel is essentially saying, screw you, Fox, we're not going to give you any more mutants or basically stories to use.
Right. I mean, they're going to still keep some of the mainstay characters in play. I mean, you're never going to really see you'll still see old man Logan and Hank McCoy Beast is in Civil War. He was on trial, speaking in issue number 3 that we were just talking about. So some of those big name X-Men are still going to be in rotation. What they're not going to be doing is creating new mutants moving forward.
Gotcha.
Right. I mean, they've done this before. Right after House of M, they kind of cleared the slate and reduced the number of mutants that were running around. And what they did when all new, all different, yet another reboot started, was they said that the Terrigen mist that's been floating around, there's some Mpox, they're calling it. There's some disease that's been floating around that mutants are kind of going extinct. That, as Andoni said, there's going to be no more new mutants. It's just pretty much everybody that's in play is going to stay in play. And like what they did with the Fantastic Four, they farm the characters from those teams out to other teams. Like the Thing is in the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Human Torch is with the Inhumans. We don't know where Mr. Fantastic and Sue Storm, I mean, they're not around, but they're probably going to do the same thing. They've already started doing that, where some of them go to Avengers teams, some of them are going to go to, I don't know, the Guardians teams, and blah, blah, blah. But essentially, the real question is Marvel going to kill off the X-Men books out of spite?
That's what it felt like to me when I was reading that article. It was just a big screw you because they couldn't work out a deal with Fox to get the rights back.
And that's the thing with the Marvel Now checklist, was the original checklist that they came out with, and had when the previews last Wednesday had no X-Men books. So immediately everybody speculates that there's going to be no more X-Men books as a whole. But as we've been seeing with some some teaser images and stuff from San Diego Comic-Con, it seems like they're going to continue forth with the X-Men books that they have now. It's just with this Inhumans versus X-Men crossover, I mean, is that going to be end of the line, or it's, I don't know. It's all speculative.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of one of those things where it seems like they're playing a hand where they'll somehow, by doing what they're doing, persuade Fox to sell the rights back at some point, down the line. But that's a gamble, and it may not happen, because these people in Hollywood have to realize that these comic book movies, even if they don't end up being good, they're going to get people to the theater. People are going to buy the tickets and watch these movies. So if they have the rights, they're probably thinking, why the hell should we give them back? The problem is Marvel should have never happened in the first place. They should have never allowed that to be the case.
Well, I mean, they ran into financial trouble, and the worst part was that Deadpool was actually successful, and after that we get 15,000 Deadpool books. Where was I going for this? I ran out of fuel. But I mean, essentially what will probably happen after Inhumans versus X-Men is they'll write some ending for the X-Men, but they'll leave the door open in case Fox sends them the rights back, which they've already started playing ball with the Legion FX show or whatever it is. Yeah, that's a collaborative effort, right? I guess my question is, if there were no more X-Men books, would people care? I mean, Andoni, are you an X-Men guy?
I don't read X-Men currently, to be honest. None of this Astonishing X-Men, I was fond of the Jim Lee era from the early 90s. That's kind of around the time when I had first started collecting comics, on my own. And Jim Lee's artwork at that time obviously was fire. And so I love that stuff. I still have many of them. I've read graphic novels here and there and stuff like that. But as far as any modern day X-Men is concerned, I don't read it, so it wouldn't affect me in any way. But I do know that there are fans out there of Wolverine, which Wolverine is not going to be affected in this in any way. He's had his own titles, before, outside of X-Men titles, so he's going to be a mutant that always stays around in print, I think, Cyclops, maybe we're not going to see him as much. Are people going to lose sleep over it? Unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just feel like I have Marvel pegged, but I feel like their MO right now is they take their classic characters and they introduce a new version of them, but still have the old version, so then they can have their cake and eat it too. And then what I feel like they're doing with the Marvel Now checklist that they came out is they're cycling through a bunch of their old IPs, seeing what sticks, and then I would bet dollars to donuts that probably next fall they relaunch with like a Marvel Rebirth. It's not going to be called Marvel Rebirth because that'd just be stupid, but that's what they'll do. They'll essentially say, oh, we're bringing back all the heroes you love. It'll be the Avengers, Captain America, Thor, all the original stuff, but then they're going to carry forward all the stuff from Marvel Now that actually worked, like, slapstick or something.
Yeah, it just seems like, whether they call it Marvel Now, because again, we have to remember that we're just coming off of a reboot that happened in, if I'm not mistaken, October of 2015. I was in the middle of reading certain things. I had started giving Ant-Man a shot, Howard the Duck. All of those got carried to issue 5. And then October 2015, they did the reboot, and they restarted Howard the Duck again from issue number 1, and Ant-Man, and a number of other titles. And so Marvel Now is just the 2016 reboot. Then in 2017, there'll be something else. It does get tiring,
Yeah, it does. Marvel, according to them, that's the market now. And the interesting thing is that Bleeding Cool has sales reports for every week. They essentially talk to a handful of stores, and the stores tell them what their, exact sales are, like their top 10 or something. And then Bleeding Cool creates a top 10 list of selling books, and the last couple of weeks there have been no regular Marvel books in the top 10 except for Star Wars books, and then I think Civil War 3 was on there. Essentially, it's just been all DC books, and then one of the anecdotes from one of the stores was basically that nobody wants to buy these Marvel books because they know they're going to end in however many months and get relaunched anyway. So why start? I mean, it's the lame duck phase. I mean, this happened with, I think, the Secret Wars right before that, when everybody knew everything was going to get reset. It's people just figured, why am I going to keep reading a book that's going to end soon?
Yeah.
I know that's kind of what, because I haven't been into comics nearly as long as you guys have. It's been, I don't know, going on 2 years or so for me. But when I started, I went with Marvel because I was familiar with them from the movies. I was familiar with the X-Men. So that's what I started out with. But then, like you mentioned, they went to issues 5. Some of them, I think, there was a Captain America one that went to like issue 6, and then they rebooted. And I just was tired of trying to keep up, and it felt like they were constantly changing it. I was just like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna stick to something else. It's not gonna be, refreshed every so often.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why, like, I do collect, modern books. I have a pull list at my local shop, but, you guys see my YouTube videos, and when I do hauls and stuff, I always like getting things that are from the 80s. I love Bronze Age books as well from the 70s. Even if it's not the actual book, if there are stories that I can get in trade format from stuff that was done back in the day, I always like to keep my hand pulling something that's a little bit more old school, because, not that what's coming out today isn't good, but there is a lot of great stuff, also to read in the back bins, so to speak, the dollar bins.
Right, and even with this Marvel Now stuff, now I kind of just want to go back and start filling in gaps I have in long runs. Like Captain America, I'm trying to fill that one out. And then the other problem with this is that it's a guarantee that tons of these books in the Marvel Now checklist, they're not going to go past, probably 8 issues. They're going to get canceled. It's Marvel just kind of wants to see how they're going to do, and if they're successful, you carry them on. If they're not, then you drop them.
I'll tell you
it's like the Kingpin and the Bullseye books. If you told me those were limited series 6 issues, I'd pick them up immediately. But since I don't know what they're going to do, I don't want to roll the dice that it's either not going to finish or something's going to happen that it's not going to be a complete story, because then I'll be reading this book that just maybe abruptly ends. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's why I hate all these tie-ins, because you don't know. I will say that I did end up picking Kingpin #1 for Civil War 2. They have a issue that cover caught my attention with all the bad guys kind of on the cover, which again is misleading, because most of these guys that they show on the cover, like Carnage, Absorbing Man, Hobgoblin, none of them were actually in the issue at all whatsoever, but they're on the cover. The story was pretty good, actually, because it's kind of showing what's going on with the bad guys in the New York City area with the war that is taking place with the good guys, and now people are being picked up by the police before they even actually commit any crimes. So the Kingpin's back in town, and it shows what the bad guys are doing now in lieu of all of this other business that we were talking about earlier. The artwork was kind of sketchy. I wasn't too thrilled about that, but the story was pretty good because it's letting you see a little bit of a different perspective. So I checked out #1, and I will check out #2. But like, getting back to your point, I have no idea how many issues this is going to be. Again, my guess is that they're going to probably do 5 or 6 for this Kingpin Civil War tie-in, but the odds that it will go anything past that are, probably unlikely. But they don't tell you.
Yeah,
you have no way of knowing.
Well, that one they've already said. I think it's a 4-issue series. I mean, ones like that where it ties into an event book, they're pretty short leashed. But I mean, as an example, the Vision book that Tom King's writing, who's now writing Batman, the Rebirth book, 12 issues. It's not going to tie into anything. It's not going to run into Civil War. Nothing. It's kind of it's on its own little island. It's going to be a 12-issue complete story. Versus All New, All Different Avengers, which was supposed to be their flagship book. It's got these new Avengers and the old Avengers. It would have been awesome if it would have been 2 two different dynamics on one Avengers team with growing pains, and they're trying to start to work with each other, but then it gets sucked into, what was the other one? Oh, the Avengers standoff, which wasn't bad, but then it goes right into Civil War, and it's like this book has no time to breathe, and then they're going to cancel it like issue 16 or 17. So it's like, why am I getting invested in this book if it's going to get sucked into the event, and then nothing's going to happen, and then it's going to get canceled and relaunched as something else? They're going to recycle some other IP.
Yeah.
Champions. So I would be more invested in the newer books if I knew that they were short duration, that they're just going to tell me a story with like Bullseye or Kingpin or something. And even the books that they're trotting out now, like Spider-Man, they're going to redo the Clone Saga, which it is what it is. Thor, they've got the 2 Thor books. I mean, that's okay.
Don't they have another Thor book coming out where he's going to try to get a hammer back? The Unworthy Thor or something like that?
Well, they're finally answering the question that's like 2 years old as to what made the Odin son unworthy in the first place.
Wait, let's just take a time out if you don't mind. So you're telling me, because I haven't been following this, you're telling me all of this time they gave the girl, I don't know her name, forgive me, they gave her the hammer.
Jane Foster.
And at no point did they explain why the other guy got stripped of the hammer? It was
No.
That's ridiculous.
No, it was an original sin. Who was it? The Watcher. Somebody whispered something to Thor, which made him unworthy. He drops Mjolnir, and then Jane Foster eventually picks it up. And this had to have been like 2 years ago.
It just seems weird
And
that they would not close a loophole on something important. Don't you think that I am aware of Thor because my dad, as a young kid, gave me a stack of Bronze Age comic books that he had, back from when he was growing up in the Washington Heights of New York. This guy's been around forever. Don't you think that fans deserve to know, okay, this is why? Just throw some closure in there, for heaven's sake. What's going on?
Yeah, the original Sin event started April 2014, so it was probably like May or June of 2014 that this happened, and they just haven't told us.
That's weird.
Well, that's the thing that's giving me a red rump is the Daredevil thing. He keeps mentioning that something happened, that everybody forgets his identity, but they just keep brushing it under the rug. I mean, that last two-part doodad with him and Spider-Man was awesome. But it's just like, yeah, nobody remembers who I am anymore. Well, what happened? Don't worry about it. So, I mean, with DC Rebirth, it's like, oh, this stuff feels like DC books. And then you read Marvel, it's like, what the F is this? I don't know what this is. It's like the Star Wars book feel like Star Wars, but Marvel's just like, we're just going to throw crap against the wall. See what works. See if we get another Gwenpool.
Yeah, Star Wars, I think, is the only thing that's been going strong for them, as far as Marvel's concerned. Like, we were talking about issues or series that are not able to get past 12 issues. Darth Vader's going to 25 and they're stopping. But still, 25 is a lot better than some of these other titles that we have been talking about. And then the regular Star Wars is going to continue. They're not stopping that. And I don't know, they're up to issue 22 or 23, I forget. So that's going to keep on going. So Star Wars is solid for Marvel. Beyond that, seems like there are some waviness in the seas.
Right. I mean, the Darth Vader book, that going 25 issues, that's a sufficient amount of time to tell the stories that you want to tell. And then the Star Wars book, just, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But, any other regular running Marvel book, I don't know that one's made it past 20 yet in the last however many years. Deadpool will probably get there.
Contest of Champions, which was supposed to be an ongoing series, that now comes to an end. I just picked up the last issue, number 10, and they stopped there. At first I thought it was going to be ongoing, but I guess they either ran out of ideas or, whatever. That's coming to an end as well.
Well, when they say ongoing, they mean, in air quotes, ongoing. But I actually asked a comic store this question about how they order for a book that they know is ongoing versus one that is a limited series. And it makes sense. I mean, I get why Marvel makes the stupid distinction of ongoing when it's really only going to go a specific number of books. Is that comic book stores tend to order a little heavier on the first couple of issues if it's an ongoing series, because then if somebody picks it up, at issue 5 or 6 or something, they want to go back and get the older ones. But the idea being that if it's a limited series, that they'll just wait for the trade or something if it's already up to issue 5 or 6, and they don't want to go back and get the earlier issues.
Makes sense.
But then Axel Alonso just scolded all the Marvel readers for trade waiting instead of buying the individual issues, because he says that's how books get canceled. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So going back to Star Wars real quick, the new Han Solo book, have they announced if that's limited?
No, yeah, it's fine. All of those that they have been doing have been miniseries. They did started the very
Chewbacca.
I know like Shattered Empire was like 4, Leia was like 4 or 5. Okay, I just wasn't sure if Han Solo, if they actually came out and said Han Solo is 6 issues or 8 issues or whatever it may be.
I believe it's only supposed to be 5 issues, but from what I've been hearing, it's actually been very good. I haven't started that yet because I've been doing Rebirth stuff and whatever else. I do want to get back to my Star Wars. I have issue number 2 for the Han Solo here. I'm pretty sure it's only going to 5.
Okay.
But if it ends up being very successful, who knows? Maybe they'll keep on going. I mean, it is Han Solo, so. But so far, I think it's only 5 issues.
Okay. Yeah, and I've read the first 2, and it is good. It's entertaining. I just wasn't sure if they were expected to go a little longer because it's such a well-loved character.
Oh, now they have the young Han Solo casted too. So.
Oh yeah, who did they cast for
Momentum. I forget what his name is.
Right. Oh, if only there was some database with web-related information.
If only. I was gonna say something I don't remember.
This is the.
Andoni, are you?
Sorry, this is the guy that was in Hail Caesar. All right, Alden Ehrenreich. That's right.
I have no idea who that is.
He's in the Coen brothers' last film, Hail Caesar. That's the only film that I know him from, but he should be good, I think, based off of that one film I saw.
Didn't see it. Andoni, are you still a big Jim Lee guy?
Well, not really. I mean, I liked Jim Lee in those early Marvel years. I did follow him briefly when he was doing Image stuff like Wetworks, and I will say that I picked up some stuff recently from the imprint that he had, Wildstorm, but he just really did the cover art. I'm not really even sure. Is Jim Lee, with the exception of doing a lot of variant covers, is he involved and committed to a particular series as of now?
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah, he's doing the new Suicide Squad.
Oh, I didn't know that. No, so yeah, currently I have not been reading any Jim Lee, but I've always appreciated his artwork.
Yeah, my first taste of picking up Jim Lee books as they came off the printer was when he did Superman Unchained with Scott Snyder, and everybody was like real excited, and then the book just kept getting delayed, and everyone gradually got less excited. It was a good book. It's just the curse of Jim Lee kind of gripped its claws into that book.
Yeah, I remember reading his Batman Hush stuff. I mean, his artwork I always thought was on point. I've always wanted to go back and read Hush, but I haven't read anything Jim Lee related in some time.
The stupid thing with DC is they don't have a digital subscription service yet, which I think is just stupid. I don't know why they haven't done it yet. I understand Marvel's already done it, but golden opportunity. But what do I know? Anyway. So San Diego Comic-Con was absolutely rife with news, previews, teasers, trailers, knickknacks. Apparently people are flipping stuff for like $500 already.
Oh my god.
I saw that.
But I would wager that of the big two, especially when it comes to film and TV, I would say that DC kind of had the most to show. They had the first Wonder Woman trailer. They had the first Justice League trailer. And I mean, even those two things I thought were pretty well done. What say you?
Nick, did you see them?
I did. I watched. I still haven't seen Batman vs Superman, but
I
yeah.
wouldn't.
But regardless, to me,
I haven't seen it either, so we're in the same boat.
to me,
Guys, their mothers are named Martha, so major plot point.
Great. But just from that trailer alone for Justice League, I'm more interested in that than I think I ever was in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, but it's obviously going to be a movie that we have to see now because it seems like that movie laid a lot of the groundwork for what we saw in the trailer today, or what I saw today. It must have come out perhaps a couple of days ago. I thought it was spectacular. Definitely has my interest peaked for sure with Bruce Wayne, going around and recruiting the different members. And so it looks like it's going to be badass. I will say that I was much more excited with that trailer than I was with Wonder Woman. I had some questions about that, but I'll let you guys also share what you thought about it.
I like
if we could just have Batman versus Superman not happen and we could have just done the Justice League movie, that would have been awesome. Because I don't know that BVS is even necessary anymore.
Wow.
But it did have Ben Affleck as Batman. That was pretty cool.
And Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman.
And Gal Gadot, that was pretty cool. And they still shit on Superman, but I've turned into a Superman guy, so that's just a bias, I guess.
I like the Wonder Woman trailer. Andoni, going back to your question there, I liked it. I've never really read any Wonder Woman comics. I'm not, I know of her basically is, about the extent of any knowledge I have towards her. But I don't know. It's intriguing to me. I like that she's getting her own film. I completely forgot that Chris Pine was in it until I watched the trailer. That kind of.
I like that guy.
I was going to ask you guys what you thought of him as an actor. Are you guys fans of him?
I liked him in Star Trek, especially when I first saw him in the first Star Trek movie. I liked that they picked an actor that at that time not many people really knew about. They could have went with a Brad Pitt or some other Hollywood name. I don't know, one of these guys from Massachusetts. What are their names?
Oh, Damon and Affleck.
Jason. Yeah, one of those guys. I'm just tired of seeing their faces, to be honest. So at that time, I remember wow, this guy I thought was great as Kirk. And, I know he did some other movies, like that movie with Denzel. I did not see that with the choo-choo trains. And so
Unstoppable. That's what it was.
Yeah, there you go. But when I saw him in the comic book trailer today for Wonder Woman, I was like, you know what? I think this may work. I like the guy, so we'll see, what happens. Why, are you not a fan? Did I just totally geek out on a dude that you hate?
No, I don't hate him. I liked him in the first Star Trek movie. I watched the Star Trek Beyond yesterday. Was not a fan of it. It wasn't really his fault. It was just the filming, the plot. There was a lot of questions. So I just haven't seen him in enough of other stuff besides Star Trek, because that's what he's mostly known for at this point, to try and figure out if he's a good actor or if he's just good for that role. He was in that Jack Ryan Shadow Recruit movie. I haven't seen it. I don't think that one got too favorable reviews, but again, I don't know if that's because of him or because of the writing or just the plot in general. But I don't know. It's interesting. I just, like I said, I just forgot he was in it. I remember reading a while back that he got cast and then completely skipped out on it until I watched the trailer earlier today. But with Wonder Woman, does it takes place during, was it World War II or World War One?
I think World War II.
Okay.
I think that's one of the things that I found. Listen, I'm not. I didn't dislike the trailer. I guess I just seemed a little confused with the time frames because she was referring to Zeus as her father, but Greek mythology was a very, very long time prior to World War II. I guess in the comic books, when you would see Hercules teaming up with the Avengers, you didn't read too much into that because it was the comic book. But seeing the Hercules from way back then in a movie today would, I don't know. I just found the time frames, they didn't seem to, the war scenes and the Amazonian origin that she has, it didn't seem to jive in the trailer for me, But I'm gonna watch the movie. I look forward to it coming out. I think Wonder Woman's a great character. And is the time frame thing that am I bugging out here? Or did you guys see question that at all?
Well, I mean, it's sort of a minor plot point in Batman versus Superman because she establishes herself as, like some sort of important socialite or royalty or something, and then Bruce Wayne finds a picture of her from the 40s or something and sees it's her, and he says, well, that can't be right. She's, the same age, and then starts to put things together. So that's kind of our first inclination that she's sort of this ageless, warrior Amazon, and then we see later in the movie that she's Wonder Woman.
Gotcha.
But I mean, the whole thing, it's kind of like the Captain America thing, except that instead of her, crashing a plane for 20 minutes, she's just this, immortal sort of demigod.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's interesting that they put it as sort of a period piece, that it's not set now so they can do some different things, and then it's not just like every other DC movie, and they can do some, do some stuff that's set at a different time. They can tell a slightly different story, and then it's kind of, I mean, I guess largely the point is that it's not going to be the point of setting it back in the 40s is that any future Wonder Woman stories won't be tethered to it, that they can just sort of set it by itself, tell the origin, and then just kind of wash their hands of it.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes sense, actually.
But as far as the two Justice League and Wonder Woman, I mean, Wonder Woman, it was good. I don't think it set the whole stage, though. I mean, I guess we kind of get an idea of who she's going to fight. But for the Justice League, I mean, I don't know. I was pretty jazzed after watching that.
I agree.
I liked it too. And I know, Justin, you're a fan of the Flash TV show. What were your thoughts on the brief moments we had with Flash in the trailer?
Well, he was the big wild card because I do like the TV show. I do like the guy that plays Barry Allen on the TV show, and then they say that they're going to cast somebody else, which is their prerogative for the movie. They want to kind of set these two. They don't want to have one complete universe, which is their choice. And then they cast this guy, and then it's kind of like, is he going to be any good, or is it going to be a letdown after seeing the TV show? But I think, at least from that short clip that we saw of him in the trailer, he seems to be a good pick.
I agree. I thought that he was a good pick. I don't even know who he is, but from the quick trailer there, I thought that he was going to, look like he would be a good fit.
I mean, I guess we have to start giving DC and Warner Brothers credit, because even with Ben Affleck, when they cast him as Batman, that seemed like a very bizarre choice. But it turned out that it was actually a pretty good choice.
Yeah, much better than his Daredevil stint. I definitely think, even though I haven't seen the movie, a lot of people were, received it in a positive way, him taking this mantle. And from what I saw in the trailer today, definitely seems pretty cool. Let me ask you, what did you guys think of Jason Momoa as Aquaman? I don't think he said a single word in that entire trailer. He probably grunted, though.
I think he said something when he was talking to Bruce Wayne. But yeah, it wasn't much. It wasn't much. I'm not.
I mean, of the seven, he's the one that's the hard left from the typical interpretation. So I'm just kind of curious to see what they do with it.
So what's like when Bruce Wayne's in that town trying to recruit Aquaman, he mentions something about that he comes to shore like once a year or every few months or something like that. Did you guys catch that? Or is that?
I did not catch that. I thought they said he was a fisherman, that he talks to the fish.
Well, it sounded like he kind of helps this small fishing
Yeah,
town.
he said like in the winter he brings fish, and then
something.
like once a certain time of year he comes onto land, and that's how Bruce Wayne kind of picks him out of the crowd. Even you might suspect a giant man with nautical tattoos, but yeah, I was just a little curious. Like I said, I'm not overly familiar with Aquaman, other than he's the guy that talks to fish.
Yeah. I mean, the typical interpretation is that he's half Atlantean, half regular Jamoke. And so that might be what they're getting at, is that he kind of goes back and forth, that he's usually the king of the seven seas, but then every once in a while he, gets a burger or something.
Hangs out with the common folk.
He goes on Rumspringa every year.
Just goes crazy.
Yeah, gets a week to just, do what he does.
And the big difference between Aquaman and Submariner is that Aquaman has his head.
Yeah, well,
where the Submariner no longer does.
Well, for now.
I'm
pretty sure they're going to bring him back.
Till the next Marvel reboot.
Oh, God. I'm already counting down until they bring back Bruce Banner, and I have a feeling I know what it's going to be. That's the stupid thing. It's going to be for Thor Ragnarok. I would bet a pizza that he'll be back for Thor Ragnarok.
Well, and we had the
the
discussion in our Entertainment Buddha chat about the Hulk Gladiator armor that's going to be in the Thor film.
Right.
So, and you suggested they're most likely gearing up for Planet Hulk.
Yeah, I think I saw somewhere that somebody explicitly mentions that Thor Ragnarok will deal somewhat with Planet Hulk. How? I don't know. But
that would be 100% CGI then.
Oh, yeah.
You mean there's no Planet Hulk to actually
go to? They're going to film on location?
Yeah. But let me ask you guys, now that we talked about the DC stuff, did you catch any of the Netflix Marvel-related teaser trailers?
Yeah. I watched the Luke Cage, and I watched the Iron Fist and Defenders teasers. And based on Marvel/Netflix's past with Daredevil and Jessica Jones, I'm all in for it. If the writing and filming and action scenes are as good as they've been so far, I'm for it. I'll watch it. I don't know a thing about Iron Fist, but it looks interesting to me.
I agree with you. I'm all in as well. These Netflix programs have been fantastic. And I also love that the Luke Cage trailer opened up with the soundtrack by Old Dirty Bastard, Ooh Baby,
yes.
I Like It Raw, which was fantastic.
I immediately, after watching that trailer, I immediately went and watched the music video for that. Because it's like, I have not heard this song in a very long time.
Great choice. So Luke Cage looks like it's going to be well done. Now, I will say that the character that they picked, I don't know the actor's name, but he's also the dude that plays Prince or something Tyrell from Game of Thrones. I'm not really sure, even though you didn't really see too much in the teaser, I guess I'm having a hard time picturing this guy taking on a extreme martial arts character. But, again, it's Netflix and they've been good so far, so hopefully it turns out to be great. The Defenders, they didn't really tell you much. A question for Justin. I think they said in the teaser, they said 4 members. So we know Daredevil, I assume Iron Fist, and then Luke Cage. Who's the 4th member going to be?
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones, yeah.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking a new twist to the Defenders. The original team was Hulk, Namor, Doctor Strange, Silver Surfer. They've had different incarnations of it and people floating in and out. My only beef with the Netflix trailers is that I'm not saying that the shows aren't good. It's just with Jessica Jones, Daredevil, now Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, I feel like they need to do work to make these shows distinguished from one another, because I feel like,
in other words, don't rush into it.
No, but I feel like there's kind of a template. It's sort of gritty view, main villain, learn something about their past, and it's kind of paint by
Rosario
numbers.
Dawson makes an appearance.
Yeah.
which is
Like I didn't
good
even watch
idea.
the second season of Daredevil because I just kind of I felt like it was retreading. It's just you bring in Punisher.
Well, and I was gonna say, if Punisher hadn't been in that second season of Daredevil, it would have been revisiting the first season, so to speak. But Punisher made the second season. I thought it was amazing. I loved every scene that John Barenthal was in. He made Daredevil kind of become a secondary character to me in that second season.
But it was also great in how they basically dedicated. See, sometimes like with these movies, we were talking earlier about Batman vs Superman. I thought the problem with that was that they tried to jam so much into one movie when they had already showed us what was going to be in. We already knew Wonder Woman was going to be in. We had like different, and then all of a sudden they released a trailer that showed you that we were going to see Doomsday, and I'm thinking like, geez, can there be a surprise that's now? And so with Daredevil, the first season, they didn't jam too much in. They focused on the Kingpin and Carlton Fisk the entire season for the most part, and they built up, Matt Murdock's relationships with his Froggy and the other people who were in his life, and then season 2. There was no Carlton Fisk. They closed that chapter, and they dedicated an entire season to building the story between Frank Castle and Daredevil. And, I thought that was pretty good how they did that. You know what I mean? They didn't rush to, in other words, do Punisher and Daredevil and Elektra all in season 1. You know what I mean? So
now Kingpin did have some scenes in that second season of Daredevil.
Oh, did he?
But
Because
he wasn't a central focus, but I forget, it was about halfway, maybe a little farther, where he makes an appearance, makes a few deals here and there. Basically, he becomes Kingpin of the prison, and then, I don't want to give too much away if you're gonna watch it, but yeah,
we already said spoilers.
Well, all right, but
no, it's okay.
But yeah, he's in it, not nearly to the extent that he was in the first season, but he is back in that second season.
Right. All right. That's good to know, because I thought that guy who played him was fantastic. What's his name again? The fellow...
Vincent D'Onofrio.
That's it.
Yeah, he's great. And I also, totally separate from comics, the new... was it The Magnificent Eight? The new movie that's coming out with Denzel and... the guy that is starring in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Magnificent 7, 8?
Magnificent 7, 8, whatever.
9, 20.
But the guy that plays Kingpin is also going to be in that movie, and, his character looked interesting. Really big, burly guy with a thick beard. So, I like him as an actor, so I'm glad that they...
He was in...
a little bit.
He was in Jurassic World, too.
Oh, was he?
If you saw that.
I did not see that.
Okay, he's in that as kind of a tertiary character, but yeah, he's in that because I was watching Jurassic World and I was like, he looks very familiar, but in the movie he's got more hair and a goatee, and I was like, couldn't quite place. I was like, oh, that's Kingpin. All right, now I got it.
Tertiary character, good name drop. Not like the what was the one I had a while ago? It was like the third most important protagonist. It was like Tetragonist or something.
I don't know. Tertiary also means like a third level character.
Yeah. Now you know. Knowing's half the battle.
Yes.
Oh, and Kingpin is Wilson Fisk, unless Carlton Fisk, the Hall of Fame catcher for the Red Sox, has a second career.
Pardon me.
As a Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. This is like beating down the Yankees. Now I'm beating down Hell's Kitchen. Socking home runs and socking good guys in the face.
They should get David Ortiz to play Kingpin in like a spoof.
Well, they sort of did that in the movie when it was what was his name?
Oh,
Michael Duncan Clark.
Yeah. And Colin Farrell was
it's
Bullseye.
Still not a good movie.
Jennifer Garner as Elektra.
I always liked Michael Clark Duncan. It was sad when he passed away.
Yeah.
He was a good actor.
I mean, I get with the Netflix shows, you kind of have to set the origin. I mean, we've never seen Jessica Jones before. Daredevil, they had to establish everything. They're going to have to do that with Iron Fist. It just feels like, I don't know. It just feels like they get to a point where it's paint by numbers.
They do, but then the whole plan is to build it into the Defenders. So
That's true.
Yeah, it comes out in 2017. So wait, I didn't catch though. I watched the trailer for Luke Cage. When does that come out?
that's September of this year. Defender
awesome.
and Iron Fist are both next year, along with season 3 of Daredevil. I think is also next year.
Wasn't there a Punisher one
There
too?
is, but I don't know if they've said when
Announced
that
that.
expected release is. I don't know if that's next year or if that's 2018.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have some time off in August and September, and so I watched all of Daredevil season 1. I'm gonna have a clip of 2 weeks off in August. Hopefully, I can binge watch season 2 and catch up because I really wanted to see 2 in the Punisher, and I've missed the whole thing. I feel horrible, honestly.
Well, you got to watch the movie too.
No,
What
you don't.
movie?
Daredevil movie.
Oh, get out of here! With, I'm not watching that again.
So the other big news was Captain Marvel has been cast. It's Brie Larson, which I don't think surprises anybody.
I have no.
But-
It's the first time I hear of this person. Who is this girl?
She was in 10 Cloverfield Lane.
She was
in The Room.
Yeah, The Room was her big breakout. Well, I mean that's been her biggest movie to date.
Right. Well, how dare you disregard 21 Jump Street?
Well, was she nominated for an Emmy for an Oscar for 21 Jump Street?
Well, no, but
All right.
if you're going to go by that criteria,
Awards are all that matters, Justin.
well,
She won Best
maybe to
Actress.
some. Maybe to some. Anyway. I feel like that was a good pick, but I don't know. It's Marvel has made it to the point where they're given the benefit of the doubt, which is funny. Because I feel like, I mean, we said it with Guardians of the Galaxy, like that was a real weird choice, but Doctor Strange, I don't know. Granted, I didn't watch the second trailer, but that first trailer, it's like, I don't know.
How do you feel about Benedict Cumberbatch as an actor? Just in general.
I don't know that that's...
The
I
problem.
don't feel like that's the problem.
Okay.
I feel like the problem is it doesn't feel like Doctor Strange. It feels like they're doing Inception.
Yeah, it kind of comes across that way in the trailer. That's for sure.
I wasn't happy with the choice of this guy for Doctor Strange. I remember when they first started talking about this, Joaquin Phoenix's name was thrown in the contenders, and I was like, well, I thought that would be great because he seems like he's a little kooky in real life anyway.
yeah.
I thought that he would nail it, but I know this guy Cumberbatch is a popular actor. People rave about him on what is it, Sherlock Holmes.
yeah.
So maybe I'll be proven wrong, when I see the movie. He seems like one of those characters where I really hope that they don't F up because, Doctor Strange seems like he has a lot of potential. Like the last podcast we talked about how Marvel doesn't really have a foothold in any, kind of horror, Blade-ish stuff. Man-Wolf, or Werewolf by Night, rather. And this seems like it could be something that could open the door for stuff like that, Doctor Strange. And I hope that they don't mess it up, because I'd like to see more Supernatural, more Blade. I'd love to see Werewolf by Night get into a movie, or even Morbius or Ghost Rider to come back, since, Nicolas Cage and all that, they need to reboot Ghost Rider. That would be awesome. And so Doctor Strange kind of could really open the door for that. Hopefully it's done well. We'll see.
Well, and the other thing too with Doctor Strange is that's another Marvel character that the general public might not be familiar with. It was kind of like the way Ant-Man was. I mean, I had people asking me like, "Who is Ant-Man?" Like, I'd never heard of him ever, because you only really hear about the big ones like Spider-Man and Iron Man and all of those.
Founding member of the Avengers. Come
exactly. But yeah, I'm excited for Doctor Strange. I like the comic. I've been keeping up with it just because, like you said, Andoni, it's different. It's got the mystical aspect to it. So I'm hoping like you that the movie doesn't suck, that it's not a letdown. But Marvel's had a good run of films in their universe. I mean, if you want to discount the previous Hulk movies, everything's been very solid in retrospect, wouldn't you say?
I think so. I mean, they seem to be, the sky's the limit. A lot of the movies, yes, some of them might have not been as good as others, but Civil War 2 I thought was great. Deadpool was great. And, even movies before that, some of the earlier Wolverine movies I enjoyed with Hugh Jackman. Days of Future Past I thought was all right. So, I mean, I'm easily pleased when it comes to movies. I don't really walk out of these things griping too much. I mean, I do get upset at times when you see certain things that are kind of changed from the comic books. But, do you walk out overall feeling entertained? Most of the time, yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for with Doctor Strange, because it is an introduction to a new character to the Marvel universe. So, if it's got a little bit of Inception to it, so be it. But hopefully, it's not too much where it's just overtaking the film.
I mean, and since Doctor Strange was one of the members in the Defenders, even though I don't really see Cumberbatch coming to Netflix to do, this series with that we were talking about earlier, but maybe if they build up the character and the movie ends up being successful, just like we see a different Flash, on the CW and a different Flash in the Justice League, there's no, who says that they can't bring a Defenders to, a Doctor Strange to the Netflix Defenders, years down the line, season 2, season 3, provided that we even get that far. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's potential, in other words. Hopefully they don't mess it up.
Yeah, just don't mess it up. That's all we're asking.
No, but I mean, if you had to build a hierarchy of the Marvel movies, you'd probably say the stinkers are Hulk and Iron Man 2, and those are the ones that they did.
I might even throw Thor: Dark World in there too.
Well, the Thor movies weren't really as good, but I mean, even Ant-Man was a surprise in that it wasn't bad. It was actually kind of good.
Well, and
Guardians was a surprise.
Yeah, and with Guardians and Ant-Man, it had more of a a comedic effect to it too.
Sure.
Because when they first cast Paul Rudd, I was like, really, Paul Rudd, superhero? I don't know if I see it, but I enjoyed it. And then in Civil War, the 5 or 6 minutes he was in the film, he was funny and he was good.
Yeah,
I was glad to see Paul Rudd, kind of make a transition, because I've been a fan from his slapstick comedies with, Will Ferrell and Vince Vaughn and stuff like that. So I was definitely excited that he, when I saw him in Civil War, though his scene was brief, I thought it was pretty good. I think he's nailed Scott Lang. And, how, we look at Robert Downey Jr. as the Iron Man. I think Scott Lang has that potential. I mean, Paul Rudd has that potential with the Scott Lang character.
Sure. Oh, Andoni, they are bringing Ghost Rider to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
I did just hear that recently. You're right.
They're bringing it to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I don't know if that's what they said.
I don't know why that, of all places, I mean, that's weird,
Well, they closed their eyes and threw some darts, and that's where it landed.
Yeah, that's one of those...
Either him or slapstick.
Yeah, slapstick. But Ghost Rider seems like one of those... I don't know. I think all of these characters should be... I love the Netflix media because, it allows for them to kind of see what they did in Deadpool, but in multiple episodes within the given season, and I kind of like that.
I mean, maybe they thought Ghost Rider just didn't have enough material for a whole season. I don't know.
Perhaps, yeah.
I mean, who are his big bads? Mephisto and... I don't know.
That's it.
That's it.
I think he tangoed with Werewolf by Night once or twice, I'm sure.
They just need to have a Werewolf by Night series.
Yeah, I like, I always liked that stuff. I was a fan of Underworld and the stuff that Kate Beckinsale did. I've always been into that stuff, vampires and werewolves.
It's like the guy at my shop. He always loves that weird sci-fi stuff. Weird World. That's another one he loves. But they should definitely bring in Morbius. I don't know why they haven't. Maybe they'll do that in Spider-Man or something. That'd be pretty nifty.
I think they announced some of the Vulture. That was another thing that came out of the San Diego Comic-Con. They showed the first images, or I guess the rough drafts, whatever, of the Vulture wearing kind of like a metallic costume with wings battling Spider-Man. So he's going to be one of the villains in the movie. And I also want to say that they casted someone for Carnage. I don't know the actor's name, but I think he is the other person that we're going to see in Spider-Man Homecoming.
For Carnage, that's...
seems a bit
like
too
Spider-Man
much.
3 all over again.
But it's like...
What's Topher Grace-Stone? Get him back here.
His high school years, it seems a bit soon to throw Carnage into the mix, but,
Yeah.
they're throwing him in the mix.
Well, benefit of the doubt, I guess. Whatever. So it seems like we've got some things to look forward to. I mean, Marvel movies, I don't know that they did a lot of showcasing. I guess they've still... I mean, what is the next run of Marvel movies?
The next Thor
it's
movie,
Thor
I believe.
Ragnarok
Yeah.
next year.
When's Black Panther?
Black
Is
Panther.
that next year or is that 18?
Yeah, that's next year.
And what about Guardians of the Galaxy 2?
That's next year as well.
So there's a lot of stuff coming down the pike, but as far as this year concerned, the next thing that we're looking forward to is Suicide Squad.
2 weeks.
Which will definitely, maybe that could be our next date for a podcast. We could try to do something after that movie comes out.
So Doctor Strange, November this year. Guardians of the Galaxy is next May. Spider-Man Homecoming's next July. Thor Ragnarok, November 3rd. Black Panther, at least according to Wikipedia, is 2018.
Yeah, and
I feel like that's
Infinity
not right.
War Part 1 is also shown as 2018.
Infinity War has a finite number of parts. That's stupid. But I guess to end our little parlay, whatever. To end the episode, how do you guys feel about Suicide Squad? High hopes, no hopes, medium hopes?
I have...
Hope it's good?
I don't have high expectations, and
You don't have
I don't have high expectations, but I'm still kind of excited to see it. Because I know it's going to be, just from the trailers, it's going to be a little on the goofy side, might have some of the cliche jokes, but it still intrigues me enough that I'll probably go check it out next 2 weekends.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I never really read any of the Suicide Squad comic books, but I do think
Nobody did.
Yeah, from what I see in the trailer and just looking at this as an entertaining movie, I think that it's going to be pretty cool. The one thing that I am not all that excited... I'm excited about the movie. I think Harley Quinn's going to be awesome. I look forward to seeing Batman's small role in this, or perhaps a big role, I don't know. I'm not excited about Jared Leto's version of the Joker. It just looks... He's got gold fronts. It just looks funky to me. Now, I may walk out of there and say, you know what? This is awesome. He nailed it, so we'll see. But I look forward to seeing the movie, and, we'll have more on that after I see it, I guess.
$1 million question. Is Will Smith going to be in more DC movies?
I don't see it. I feel like this is kind
He
of...
had to have gotten paid a whole bunch of money for this, right?
Yeah. I don't see him doing more than one DC movie.
Yeah, well, Deadshot, then they picked the wrong guy then, because Deadshot, from the little bit that I know about him, seems like the kind of character who you can do more with down the line. So if Will Smith is not, hopefully, I don't know, he nails it, and, we'll see him down the line again if this movie ends up being a hit, because...
But what movies has Will Smith done more than one of?
Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Men in Black.
Anything else?
And,
I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Men in Black's the only one that's coming up.
he did a lot of episodes of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Bad Boys.
He did.
Yes.
He did 2 Bad Boys. All right.
And the delay from one, it was like 8-9 years when they did the second one, but I loved him and Martin Lawrence together.
I think.
The weird thing about Will Smith is that I don't know that I've heard anything about the new Independence Day. I've heard nothing.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either. I just assumed it flopped like crazy. Yeah. Last I heard it was released, and then I heard it wasn't good.
Yeah, I think one of our guys over on Entertainment Buddha did a review for it. I didn't read it, my bad, fellow Buddha buddy, but I did notice that he gave it, I want to say, a 93 rating. I think I did notice his score, so that seems like it was pretty high. Maybe we should all go back and read his article, but I didn't hear a lot of buzz about the movie either, to be honest.
I heard it was basically the same as the first one, just with a few different characters.
New coat of paint.
Yeah. I'm looking it up on EB now because I wanna see.
Well, speaking of, you can read that review, other reviews, other things nerdy, all things nerdy, on entertainmentbuddha.com, where we make you a better geek one post at a time.
Yeah, buddy.
Is there anything else that we omitted for Civil War, Marvel Now, San Diego Comic-Con?
San Diego Comic-Con.
Touch on it.
I forget which day.
Where you can get things for dirt cheap and flip it for $3,000.
Yeah. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips won an Eisner Award for The Fade Out.
As they should.
Yeah, for Best Limited Series. I thought that was pretty cool. As you know, I'm a big fan of anything they do, so
as they should.
Good for them. Good on them. And
this is called Fade Out?
Fade Out. Yep.
The Fade Out.
Yeah, it's
check that out.
12 issues.
It's pretty rad.
Yeah. And they're it's interesting because I mentioned earlier Hail Caesar. That film takes place in the same movie era as The Fade Out. So after having read Fade Out and then watching Hail Caesar, which is basically about Josh Brolin, who's a fixer for Hollywood. He fixes problems for producers, actors, that sort of thing.
That's not what I thought when I heard fixer.
Well, like your air conditioner's broken, so you get the screwdriver in there. No, but after
not that either.
After reading The Fade Out and kind of getting that mentality and watching Hail Caesar, there's a lot of similarities, which was pretty cool to see. It just added kind of like a new aspect to the movie after watching it. But that's it. That's all I have for San Diego Comic-Con. I don't have anything to flip and sell.
Not yet, anyway. Or at least not that you want to do in public.
Yeah.
Public. I'm going to be sly about it.
Yeah, now as I browse eBay for the next few weeks, that's all I'm going to see is all these SDCC exclusives for astronomical prices, so I stay away from them.
Price of convenience, I guess. But since we've got nothing else to talk about, we're going to reach our final segment of each episode that we're calling Nick's Awful Time. Why Nick? Why not? Why Awful Time? Why not? Now, that's neither here nor there. The idea being that we suggest something from pop culture that you should view, consume, read, blah, blah, blah. Could be comics, video games, TV, movies, etc. All things geeky. So, Nick.
Yes.
Since it's your awful time, do you have something to recommend?
I do.
For mass consumption?
I've recently been binge watching Stranger Things on Netflix.
Of course you have, because it's awesome.
It is. I'm about halfway through. I wish I would have watched it right when it came out, but I didn't because I didn't really know what it was. And then I saw people on various social medias talking about it, and so now I'm watching it. It came out a week or 2 weeks ago on Netflix. Very good. The actors, the kid actors in that show are phenomenal. Plus the soundtrack is awesome because it's from the 80s. There's a lot of Clash, which I enjoy. Little Joy Division, a little Bowie, a little bit of everything from the time period. So definitely worth watching if you're into kind of a thriller mystery. It kind of reminds me of like Stand By Me with Signs or some alien movie.
Well, it borrows from a lot of things. It takes from there was like a whole handful of things. It was like, no, I forget.
I mean, it's like a coming of age story for these kids, but then there's also the mystery creature aspect to it too that makes you jump from time to time.
Yeah, it's like equal parts The Thing, Explorers, sort of like Goonies, E.T.
No, no sign of Reese's
whole
Pieces
bunch.
yet, though.
Well, just keep watching. My only problem with that show is that I wish I could forget it and then rewatch it again.
Yeah.
But I guess you could always watch it.
I was sold that, when you said the Goonies, so I'm gonna have to definitely check it out.
Well, it's seriously like this weird. It's like this weird mashup of like everything sci-fi, coming of age from the '80s.
Yeah.
It's bizarre how it pulls it off, but it's. I've already watched the whole thing. It's pretty good.
All right, so that's hopefully bang out Daredevil season 2, and then I'll give Stranger Things a shot.
There you go.
Andoni, do you have something that's top of your head for mass consumption?
I do. Definitely something that's
not awful.
No, something. It's not awful. It's fantastic. As you guys know, I am a big fan of Treasury comic books, and it's not really something that they do nowadays, with a rare exception every now and again. And so I saw recently someone posted in a comic book forum on Facebook that they were talking about Treasury comic books. And do you guys know the new series that they started not long ago called Spidey with, I believe, Brian Thompson and Tim Bradshaw? I'm not sure what their first names are, but the artist is Bradshaw and the writer is Thompson. You guys familiar with that, Spidey?
I feel like it's Robbie Thompson and Nick Bradshaw, but I don't know.
I think you're right.
I know
Robbie.
of the book.
So had some really great covers early on, and they're basically kind of retelling some early Spidey stories with a new twist. And so they did a Treasury comic book of this. It was supposed to be the first 5 issues of the Spidey series, but what they ended up doing was doing issues 1 through 3, and then they also did 2 issues with Miles Morales as Spider-Man, and kind of give you a little bit of both of the Spideys. But it's great because it's old school Treasury style, 10 by 13 pages, and I thought it was very well done. It's with comics, I'm a big believer that bigger is better, and so when you're holding that puppy in your hand, I recommend everybody go out there and check it out. It's again not often that you see a modern day Treasury, and so the fact that Marvel did this I thought was pretty cool, and I'm a big Spider-Man fan, so it was kind of a no-brainer for me. So for folks out there that like Treasury comic books, give the Spidey Treasury shot. It came out this past June. Now, interesting. No, I don't know where the hell you get it. I got mine off eBay. I couldn't. Didn't seem like it was something that you could buy. My local comic shop didn't have them. But it's $14.99 cover price if I'm not mistaken, so it's cheap, and it's a good read.
Yeah, you might be able to special order it at your local shop, but it might be easier to just maybe go online. I don't know that I saw the Treasury version, but you and I were talking earlier. They're hard to find, and I have one on my checklist, and it's like I don't know where to get it because I don't know that stores would necessarily stock the old classic Treasuries.
No, the best place to get those now probably is at comic conventions, where there'll always be a vendor somewhere at a con that is selling them. But what I have noticed is that with the older Treasuries, especially if they're in halfway decent condition, it's going to cost you at a minimum $20 for each Treasury. That's kind of like the average that I've seen. Certain ones like Star Wars #1 or the Muhammad Ali with Superman, those always go for a little bit more than some of the other ones. But if you don't find them at cons, then there's always eBay. And believe it or not, you do get hit with the shipping charge, but I've picked up quite a few, and usually what I do is I try to find auctions, where it's a auction for a lot of more than one, or if the guy has a make me an offer, but you can get them, again, if we're talking reader's copies here, you can get one for relatively cheap. So that's the other, you don't really find them too much that at local comic stores, at least not in mine that I go to.
Yeah, the Superman Muhammad Ali one's another one I need to find, but again, I'm probably gonna have to pay a premium for that, especially after the recent passing.
Or if you go to a Comic-Con where you see Neil Adams, he has a reprint, if I'm not mistaken, but Neil Adams, I've noticed at his conventions, the stuff that he sells are oftentimes not all that cheap, to begin with. But anyway, you can find it. It's out there. You just have to wheel and deal sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I guess he's earned it. He's Neil Adams.
This is true.
So, I would like to suggest something that they don't do anymore, much like Andoni's suggestion of the Treasury editions. But DC used to do a lot of things called Elseworlds. Essentially, it was their version of the What If game. I mean, Marvel always had like a long line of What If comic books where they take some character and put them in a new situation. DC used to do these in prestige format where they were a little more expensive, but they were like the thicker bound. And a recent example of a book they did like that was the Last Crusade, the Dark Knight one shot that they did. I mean, that's like what they typically look like. But a broad suggestion: the DC Elseworlds. They had really neat books. Like there was one called Speeding Bullets, in which Kal-El's rocket ship is found by the Waynes instead of the Kent, and so they essentially raise Kal-El as Bruce Wayne, so he's both Batman and Superman.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's another one. I think it's called In Darkest Night, where Abin Sur's spaceship finds Bruce Wayne, so Batman is essentially the Green Lantern.
I've seen that cover, and that's a book that's not also not cheap. I want that, and I've heard that it goes for a little bit. It's a beautiful cover. It
does. I'm almost positive that they just did like a Batman Elseworlds collection just recently. I'm going to see if I can find it real quick. And of course I can't. But I know I saw it on New Comic Book Day. It was sitting on the shelf. It was like that one and a handful of other Elseworld books in a collection. I think it was like $15 or $16 or something. I'm probably not going to find it.
Justin, that was a pretty good, not so awful suggestion there, my friend.
Here it is. It was, I guess it's called Elseworlds Batman Volume 1. Maybe it is kind of pricey, but it has Holy Terror, Blue, the Gray, and the Bat, Darkest Night, and a handful of others. But I mean, those are pretty cool. There's another one. It's called Superman Red Sun, where Kal-El's rocket ship crash lands in communist Russia. I mean, a pretty easy one is to just have the rocket ship land not in a farm in Kansas. But you get the idea. They take a usual character, put him in a unique situation, tell one story. That's it. It's just nice, fun reads. Oh, Pirate Batman. That was another one I remember. Pirate Batman. So DC Elseworlds, it's kind of just like, tell me a story. Tell me a story.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try to pick some of those up if I see them. Elseworlds. I'll keep my eyes out for that.
Yeah, they're usually pretty good. And you can always tell it's a DC Elseworlds because on the cover it's almost like a rose compass that just says DC Elseworlds. It's sort of their little insignia. So that ought to do it for another episode of the Entertainment Buddha comic-centric podcast. Where can you find this podcast? I'm glad you asked. You can find it on entertainmentbuddha.com. You can also find a bunch of reviews, news on video games, comics, TV, movies. It's quite a large swath of geeky things. Why? Because they make you a better geek, one post at a time. That's their credo. Nick, take us out.
And that's the end of that chapter.
I should have said, play me off, Nick. And then you say something next time. I'm so stupid.